matrix is everywhere. It is the world that has been pulled over your eyes to blind you from the truth. What truth? That you are a slave, Neo. Like everyone else, you were born into bondage, born into a prison that you cannot smell or taste or touch.
In the 1999 film called The Matrix, the main character Neo learns from a man named Morpheus that he, like every other human, was born into slavery inside a prison he cannot see, taste, or touch. Morpheus explained that long ago, humanity went to war against machines powered by artificial intelligence. The machines depended on the sun for energy, and in desperation, humans scorched the sky to cut them off from sunlight. But the plan backfired. The machines adapted. They discovered that the human body itself produces heat and bioelectric energy, so they built vast fields of pods, where billions of people are kept alive, unconscious, and harvested for power.
The human body generates more bioelectricity than a 120-volt battery and over 25,000 BTUs of body heat. Combined with a form of fusion, the machines had found all the energy they would ever need. There are fields, endless fields, where human beings are no longer born. We are grown.
To keep their human batteries functional, the machines created a perfect illusion. They simulated a world of the late 20th century called the Matrix. Each human mind is plugged into this digital reality, living out an artificial life, while their real bodies lie still, submerged in fluid and wired into the system. In one of the film's most powerful scenes, Neo finally awakens. He opens his eyes in the real world and sees the horrifying truth that his body is encased in a pod, tubes connected to his flesh, and his energy being drained out to feed the very machines that enslaved humanity. To me, this is a powerful analogy for our existence today. We too expend our energy, our time, our labor to earn money that flows into the digital system of banks and governments. Through taxes, levies, and endless deductions, portions of our earnings are automatically extracted, often without our say. We are left with just enough to keep going, to survive, to keep working, and to keep feeding the system. This is not an argument against government or taxes. I believe both are necessary to sustain civilization. But a system that spends without our consent, that uses our collective contributions to fund priorities we never approved, starts to resemble a modern version of the Matrix, a matrix of money. In this video, we will explore this analogy further, why so many of us feel neglected and powerless, how our earnings are harvested without transparency, and what it would mean to unplug, to reclaim agency over how our money is used. Because if we can learn to direct our contributions toward what truly improves our lives, instead of enriching only a few, we might begin to reshape the system itself and awaken from the illusion that this is the best we can do. In today's world, Money moves without pause, and governments feel more distant than ever. Most of us never even see our full pay before taxes and deductions are taken. We do not pay taxes, rather taxes are taken from us. We live inside a system where money disappears from our hands before we get to decide what it should support. It's like being plugged into a vast financial machine, a real-world version of the Matrix, where our energy and earnings fuel decisions made in our name, decisions that we never consented to, and choices that do not serve our interests. This story is not about economics alone. It is not about abolishing taxes. It's about awareness. It's about ensuring that citizens can once again take part in deciding how their tax money is spent. It's about remembering that every tax, every deduction, every policy begins with us. It asks a simple question. What if we could hold our money first and choose how it serves the common good, instead of letting a system cloaked behind secrecy, buried in complexity, and hidden beneath layers of confusion quietly decide for us? You know, there is a quiet discipline in using cash. When you pull bills from your wallet, you count them and hand them over, you feel that transaction. You see your money leave you, and you ask yourself, is this really worth it? That small pause, that moment of friction is powerful. It makes you aware. It makes you think. But in modern life, that pause has been engineered out. Credit cards, digital wallets, automatic payments, all designed to make spending easy. Too easy. And with that convenience, something precious disappeared. Financial mindfulness. I still use cash whenever I can, because when you hold your money before parting with it, you stay grounded in reality. Every time you hand it over, it's a conscious act, a small but constant reminder of responsibility. And that simple idea, holding your money before parting with it, is not just about personal finance. It's about power, because when you hold the money, you decide how it moves, instead of others deciding it for you. It's also about accountability, because when people control their funds directly, every payment becomes a conscious choice. Every use of money is traceable to intent. It's also a bit about citizenship, because in a society where individuals truly understand and direct how their money supports the common good, democracy becomes real, not symbolic. There was a time when entire societies worked this way. Citizens earned their income first, and then at the end of the year, they paid their taxes. And that sequence mattered. Because by holding their money first, people kept leverage. They could ask, why this tax? What will it fund? Governments had to explain. They had to justify their budgets. They had to earn public trust. Taxation was not just a transaction. It was a conversation, a renewal of the social contract between people and the state. That order, citizens first, government second, kept democracy alive. It kept governments answerable to the very people from whom their authority and their revenue originated, the citizens whose labor and earnings sustained them. Today, that balance has flipped. Governments now take their share before you ever see your full earnings. Payroll deductions, VAT, hidden levies, all taken out automatically. And by the time your salary hits your account, it's already been pre-approved, pre-siphoned, and pre-claimed. It's already been automatically approved by systems. Portions have already been diverted for taxes and deductions, and everyone else have taken their share, and you, the person who actually earned it, get whatever scraps remain, the leftovers from a feast you were not invited to. We no longer pay taxes, it seems. They're simply taken. And because the money is gone, the incentive to question disappears. Why scrutinize a budget that you cannot influence? Why demand accountability when you've already paid, regardless of whether you agree with how they're going to use your money? This quiet inversion of the state collecting before the citizen consents has dulled civic awareness. People stop paying attention because they feel powerless. It's as if the act of citizenship itself has been automated out of existence.
replaced by quiet resignation, the sense that decisions will be made whether they understand or approve them or not. This upside-down arrangement has turned engagement into apathy, a slow, quiet surrender of interest where people stop caring not because they don't want to, but because they feel their voices no longer matter. We ended up in a system where governments no longer need our understanding or our permission to act. Over time, governments perfected this detachment. They buried their action under layers of complexity. Policies stretched into thousands of pages, budgets hid behind jargon and endless numbers. Modern tax laws run to tens of thousands of pages, and it only benefits those who can afford lawyers and accountants, while ordinary citizens stay confused and disengaged. The 2008 collapse revealed that financial instruments were so complex that even regulators did not fully grasp them. Having it complex, after all, is convenient to protect insiders and hide risks. Legislations often become massive and tangled. Governments sometimes roll hundreds of unrelated issues into a single 1,000-page bill so that it passes quickly and quietly. Important or controversial items get buried inside so that few people notice or understand what is actually being approved. That complexity is not an accident. It is a shield. Because the less people understand, the less they will resist. And when people stop asking questions, corruption no longer hides. It thrives. And if anyone dares to challenge the system, the state's control can feel suffocatingly absolute. In an instant, a person's bank account can be frozen, not for committing a crime, but for daring to question authority. Transactions can be blocked, cutting families off from rent, food, and medicine. Livelihoods can be strangled, all without a courtroom, all at the push of a button. It is financial punishment dressed as policy, and it happens quietly enough that most people do not even notice until it is their turn. We've become like the humans in the Matrix, plugged in, working, earning, feeding the system that uses our energy, our earnings, our money to sustain itself. Let's be fair. Governments are not inherently evil. They build hospitals, fund education, and maintain public order. They are tasked to perform work that's critical for our societies to function and thrive. But somehow, balance is lost. They waste endlessly. They make reckless, costly, and often harmful decisions just because they can. Take today's escalating geopolitical tensions. Gaza, NATO, Russia, China, the US, and Europe. Many of these conflicts are being managed with such recklessness and short-term thinking that the peace and stability of entire nations, even the world, hang in the balance. The same systems that's meant to preserve order now risk dragging humanity towards another global crisis. These conflicts are not just about ideology. They are about funding the steady flow of public money that keeps the machinery of conflict alive. It goes to weapons manufacturers, defense contractors, intelligence agencies, and entire industries that profit from war and instability. And the longer the tensions last, the more money changes hands, and the more those with influence have to gain. And they are funded by the very citizens who, if given a genuine choice between peace and war, would almost always choose peace. They are the ordinary people who simply want safety, stability, and a future for their families, not endless conflict. Would such wars be possible if governments did not even have guaranteed automatic access to our money? The damage doesn't end in battlefields or in diplomatic halls. Bad decisions also strike ordinary families where it hurts the most, in their wallets. When governments misuse the power to tax, they fund trade wars, tariffs, protectionist policies that raise the cost of living for everyone. America's tariffs on China, for example, made everyday goods more expensive. Europe's new restrictions on Xperia threatened to drive up car prices and stall car manufacturing in Europe. These are not abstract policies. They are choices paid for by citizens whose earnings lose value each month. Inflation is not just an economic number. It is the quiet theft of purchasing power, the erosion of stability, and the proof that the system no longer serves the people who fund it. That's not representation anymore. It is a machine running without consent. But what if we could change that? What if citizens could once again held their money first and only then chose how to contribute? It's not a dream. Bitcoin Satoshi Vision, or BSV, makes that possible. BSV's scalable, auditable blockchain allows for citizen-first taxation. Imagine your full earnings arriving untouched into your digital wallet. Then, through a transparent interface, you decide how your taxes are going to be allocated. There could be a simple dashboard that could let you choose what proportion of your tax may go to healthcare, education, infrastructure, environmental protection. Maybe you can tick yes to renewable energy and no to endless military spending. Or perhaps you could open a more detailed list where there's a catalog of projects competing for the nation's attention. Each one would come with clear, accessible information, what it aims to achieve, why it matters, and how it will be carried out, and a simple breakdown of costs, timelines, and risks. Citizens could review, compare, and collectively decide which projects deserve their support. Only when people commit their share would a project move forward. So every bridge, school, and hospital built is not just by decree, but by choice. Every transaction is recorded immutably on the blockchain, every contribution is visible, and every misuse is traceable. Governments would once again have to earn public trust. They'd have to explain projects clearly and justify spending and compete for our confidence. That's not chaos. This is a return to the original social contract where citizens hold their money, understand their choices, and participate actively in governance. In the past, such participation would have been difficult, if not impossible to manage on a national scale. The administrative work alone would have been overwhelming. But today, technology makes it not only possible, but practical. With digital systems like BSV, secure, transparent, and instant coordination among millions of citizens can happen automatically, allowing democracy to function at the speed and scale of modern life. BSV provides the architecture for a transparent, participatory fiscal system, one grounded in consent and not coercion. If we held our money first, we would think more carefully, we would act more responsibly, and would demand more honesty. And governments, knowing that their funding depends on trust, would strive to deserve it. That's balance restored. It's a society that's restarted, renewed, and brought back to its senses. A society that is reminded of who truly holds the power and given the chance to begin again on fairer, clearer terms. Our countries, whichever nation we belong to, are struggling under systems that's draining value faster than they created. Economies are being weighed down by waste, debt, and confusion. This slow decay is not inevitable. It is the result of a broken relationship between citizens and the institutions that spend their money. This imbalance, this culture of automatic extraction, has brought us to the edge of exhaustion. The era of silent extraction must end. It is time to unplug and pay on our own terms. Thank you so much for watching this video until the very end. If you liked it, please share it with other people, and if you've got questions or comments, write it below. If you are a developer, you can start developing in BSV today. If you are in business, you can start advertising your goods and products on bsvsearch.com so that other people looking for people like you, businesses like you to support, can actually find your products or hire your services. And if you like what we are doing here at bsvsearch.com, consider tipping us. There is a QR code to tip this video. Thank you so much. This is Marcus from BSV Search. Cheers. Bye-bye.